Alright everybody, so today's episode once again is going to be a little bit different. You guys who watch my videos primarily for Brawl Stars content, I'm sorry that we're on like a little bit of a side quest, a little side tangent, but as I said before, I find it very important just being a person covering a game under the Supercell umbrella. If you guys didn't catch, a few days ago we ended up covering the crazy Supercell drama that hit like some crazy cultural significance in the gaming space, more so than we're normally used to with any other Supercell game, right? We kind of have our own little umbrella. We have the content creators that create the game. We have our player base, but to go past that in the other genres, right? Big name content creators touching on this drama and stuff like that. It's kind of important for the game and can do some damage, which we also will be going into in this episode. I don't know if this is necessary, but to briefly, very briefly catch you guys up to speed, basically the CEO of Supercell, Ilka, ended up posting an annual blog post contributing most of the success, the crazy 500% increase to player count and all these crazy metrics that Supercell had during this crazy boom, this spike in popularity to the game's own development, basically. And this obviously came as a big gut punch to Jynxzi and other huge content creators that led this gigantic wave of people reinstalling the game, playing the game again, and this crazy boom for Clash Royale. We have Jynxzi saying probably the biggest spit in the face I've ever seen, which, you know, this second paragraph, I can 100% agree or see how this response is justified. Now, one thing I wanted to be for sure on in 2026, not saying that I was in the past or anything like that, but just trying to be a bit more intentional, and that is when we have the bad, we also take the good. It's never good to constantly focus on negativity, constantly looking at the bad. We also must take the good when it comes, right? And there was a good that came just yesterday by Ilka. As you guys can see, there was a post 22 hours ago updating the blog post. We have Ilka saying, updated my blog post with something I should have included from the beginning. Proper recognition of royal creators whose passion from tournaments to content to community building was central to the game's best year ever. That's on me and me alone. I'm sorry. Looking at this a little bit further, since this blog was posted on the 10th of February, I've seen a reaction to the Clash Royale section and I wanted to address it directly. In short, I failed to acknowledge the role that creator, pro players, and the broader community played in Clash Royale's resurgence. That was my mistake, no one's else, and it runs counter to everything I believe about the impact creators have on our games and our business. I am sorry. You know, I've been watching a lot of content and internalizing a lot about this situation going on and what it means for us as content creators in the Brawl Stars space, creators outside of the Brawl Stars space, Supercell in general, and I've had a lot of feelings. I've never personally met Ilka or was able to like talk to him. I've seen him in person at like Supercell events and stuff like that, but never really got to like pick his mind or anything, understand what type of person he is. Saw speeches and stuff like that on in-person events. Seems like a really good guy, and what I can see from like trusted content creators out there, much like Molt, he has nothing but good things to say about Ilka, and I have seen nothing from him obviously that would say anything else. What I truly believe a lot of this boils down to is just kind of miscommunication out of all of this. When we first started covering this like drama, it was hard to see, and like through the lens of Ilka here, it kind of felt like it was through the lens of CRL and the CRL dev team. The wording kind of felt like he turned a blind eye to what was actually going on in the CRL space, much like maybe giving off the impression that maybe Ilka doesn't like follow the community or what's going on at all, or maybe even play the game, which just because you're a CEO of the company, I don't expect you to be like no-lifing every single Supercell game or anything like that. But what I think a lot of this boils down to, just a gut hunch on all of this, is that Ilka was passed along like reports how the game was doing from the CRL dev team, and I'm doubting the CRL dev team is putting in there like it was this was Jynxzi's impact, this was Ken's impact, this was Clash Royale's impact. You know what I'm saying? What I'm guessing Ilka was given was like the data, like how everything did, the numbers compared to last year, not all this in-depth stuff, which I'm assuming Ilka isn't crazy intertwined with the like transgressions and like what people are talking about inside of the community. Now, that does not mean that there was no wrongdoing here, which is exactly why Ilka is coming out with this statement saying, I'm sorry. Let's move on here and then I'll get back to some of my own thoughts on the situation. The intent was never to diminish anyone's contribution, but intent doesn't matter when the impact is real. I understand why it hurts, and that's on me. Throughout 2025, we saw content creators self-organizing tournaments, celebrating Royale through art and memes and reminding millions of people around the world why Clash Royale is special. Creators like Jynxzi returned to the game with incredible passion, investing their own time, money, and energy into bringing Clash Royale back to cultural relevance and introducing many new players, including some of the biggest names in streaming, to the game. That kind of love for Royale can't be taken for granted, and it deserves to be acknowledged loudly and clearly. Well said. It would have been amazing if this made it into the very first post, but I'm really not going to give that up to like Ilka. I don't think that's 100% his fault, even though he is the CEO of Supercell. A lot of the stuff and things that happen in the company is kind of on him. He takes responsibility at the end of the day. But I think a lot of this could have been avoided if we go back to like the central problem that I think a lot of us understand about Clash Royale in general, and that is they have a big disconnect between the community. And I think we're kind of seeing this disconnect, which has been a problem, I would say, for years now, kind of coming to the forefront of a huge mistake, to the point where Ilka kind of caught that disconnect on, I'm guessing, just gut feeling on Clash Royale's behalf. So the response from Jynxzi, kind of summarized here, is he was happy, somewhat happy as you can in this situation, about the response or the apology from Clash Royale, and at least mentioning his name in there. Again, I don't think it boiled down to him wanting them to mention him or anything like that. It's just the gut punch of them taking accountability for their own success when it was largely due to all the content creators that surged this crazy momentum for Clash Royale. But the takeaway and the end notes that Jynxzi leaves with us on all of this is, would this apology have happened? Would it have happened if this tweet didn't go out from Jynxzi, conveying his disappointment in all of this and creating the backlash on social media that we saw in a couple days ago, which we covered here on the channel? And his thoughts was probably no, I don't think it would have. So where does this all leave us here? There's a few important things I think need to be taken away from this entire situation, just from my perspective, right? And maybe you guys will agree with me, or maybe you won't. Number one, I think Clash Royale is finally seeing how ignoring the community for such a long time can have actual crazy consequences outside of what they're normally used to. I think they've grown accustomed to kind of keep that ball turning. They have like a formula, and it seems like they've been sticking to it up until this point. No matter how loud the community preaches about certain things, no matter how many suggestions the community give, to the point where the suggestions now are just kind of on the negative side of things, but I would say maybe to the point of kind of rightfully so. If you ignore the community for that long, it's kind of going to come with the territory that people are going to continue getting more and more frustrated about it. But I think a big shift needs to happen on Clash Royale's behalf. I think they need to really start listening to their community. They need to value the content creators that come in and not have an opportunity like this pass as lightly as they did, which I doubt they are going to be able to get an opportunity like they just had this last year with Jynxzi and all the creators that came to their game. But you can still learn from it, okay? I think some stuff needs to change on Clash Royale's part. I end up watching Molt's coverage of the response, and dude, Molt is such a responsible, like, awesome figure inside of the Supercell space. If you guys don't watch him, make sure to do so, or his response. I also agree with his take. It's pretty dang important, I think, right now for Clash Royale to get some fire under their butt for some competition inside of the space. We need an actual competitor. As unlikely as that is, seeing that Clash Royale is such an amazing game, and to get competition in that like echelons is going to be really, really difficult. But I feel like right now, Clash Royale, I don't know if this will be their eye-opener or the rude awakening for some change, but they need some change outside of this as well. And you guys might be thinking, hey, Ray, why are you so dang passionate about Clash Royale changing and whatnot? I don't know if you guys understand like the ripple effect this actually has in general. As like a Supercell content creator, as I said before, under this umbrella, I cover Brawl Stars, but I'm still under the Supercell umbrella. I cover a Supercell game. Because of this error, because of this miscalculation, or the practices that Clash Royale has, or Ilka's oversight on this situation, even if he apologized, when a bad thing happens, when a distasteful thing happens, that leaves an impact and an impression on people who see it for the very first time, whether they are seasoned players, they've been playing for years, whether they have never played a Supercell game in their entire life. If people saw this situation happen, that's going to stick with them, and they see Supercell differently moving forward. And not only that, seeing that Supercell in general channel was embroiled with this kind of controversy, this situation. It also leaves a impact on the other Supercell games and opportunities that could happen in the future, much like big content creators coming to the game. If Jynxzi ever felt the urge to play Brawl Stars or found it enjoyable. I know he played it in the past, and I don't think he like absolutely loved it or anything like that, but maybe one day he stumbled across it and found it enjoyable. But now, seeing that this situation happened and Brawl Stars is a Supercell game, I don't think Jynxzi would ever play it, you know? And at the same token, seeing that this all reached the voices and the eyes of so many big content creators out there, I wouldn't see a lot of these people having like great feelings towards Supercell because of this situation. And it just kind of damages that reputation that Supercell could have in the future for opportunities and whatnot. Now, I'm not going to say all is negative, all is bad or anything like that. I think, again, this is a great learning experience. Super, super happy that Ilka ended up apologizing, whether it was for damage control or anything like that. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I think this is a great opportunity for Clash Royale to see their CEO addressing, even though it was kind of needed, but addressing a situation that needed to be addressed, and an apology. At the end of the day, an apology is an apology, and that is a good thing. It is a very, very good thing, and hopefully we can learn from this situation and move forward in a very good way. Again, kind of going back to a point that Molt made in his response to kind of wrap up this episode here, as someone of like an outsider on the Clash Royale scene and whatnot, I think he put it in a really, really good way. It's awesome that we got an apology. It's awesome that we actually got some response on Supercell's side of things. I shouldn't say we. It's awesome that enjoyers of CRL ended up getting a response on all of this, but it should be a big eye-opener on Supercell's part, and there needs to be some sort of accountability taken and some sort of punishment to some degree. Not like you did wrong or anything like that, but this needs to be taken in and there needs to be some changes made. I think it's very, very important moving forward here. This is that like eureka moment that happened, you know? If you keep doing something for so long, something like this is going to happen eventually, and it just expresses that change needs to take place. You know what I'm saying? But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Wanted to touch on this. Seeing that we talked about the negative, also want to talk about the positive in this entire situation. We don't just cover negativity on this channel, okay? When good things happen, we talk about it. But let me know what you guys are thinking. This should be a wrap on this little side quest, or this little, I shouldn't call it little side quest because it does impact us as Brawl Stars content creators as well. I do want to say that. But let me know what you're thinking. I appreciate you guys sticking around for content that's kind of a little bit different here on the channel. But yeah, thank you, love you, and we'll be talking soon. Adios, take care.